What's going on, folks? Carlos or Benitez back here again. As you can see, we've switched up the venue a bit. Big shout out to Omar and Manny over at Ash's Cigar Lounge in Kendall. I can't thank you guys enough. I appreciate you letting me use the back room so I can shoot these videos again. My intention here is to kind of cultivate and find a better way, best way, most optimal way to bring you guys this information. That being said, episode 6 of My Dog's Place. Today I want to talk about a 2-dog household and what I've learned and some of the things that I think you should keep in mind if you are maybe looking to bring in a new dog into your household, or if you have already 2 dogs in your household and just want some more tips. But regardless, this applies for everyone. Always some good things to keep in mind. Right off the bat, this kind of came up, right, because I was just working with 2 Frenchies, Nash and Mia. Nash you would have seen on the last episode, and that being a 2-dog household really made me, realize a lot of similarities that, the challenges that I went through. And I wanted to voice some of these things. Now, in that specific situation, it was a male and female. I think it's very important to note that if you have an older female and a younger male dog, you have a better chance of the female giving a bit of guidance to the younger male. Now, if those roles are reversed and you have a younger female with an older male, chances are that the older male is going to take advantage of the younger female puppy. You have these hormones that kick in. Obviously, the time of the month comes in for the female dog. Again, depending on the temperament of your male dog, I'm speaking in general, guys. So always be careful of these things. Now, in my situation, though, I had 2 males. They're very close to the same age. I would probably guess that they're somewhere between 1 to 3 months apart. And there's a lot of testosterone there, right? There's a lot of, clashing that had to happen. A lot of things that I noticed there. So obviously, when you're looking into getting 2 types of dogs, having 2 male dogs is always going to be a challenge depending on their temperament, which is our next point. When we talk about temperament, we need to keep in mind what are the likes and dislikes of each dog. So I'll give you guys a perfect example. Pachi's playstyle isn't very on brand for Luffy, and sort of vice versa. It took me a long time to get them to play with each other and me not have to constantly watch them. Again, it's something I've been working on for months now. Now, when I go about doing this, it's important that I keep in mind what are the temperament, what's the temperament of each dog. Now, each dog is going to have certain tendencies based on their characteristic that makes them more prone or less prone to certain types of activities. So, for example, based on what Pachi was bred for, right? Now we're kind of getting into breed, but based on what Pachi was bred for, he likes to bait other dogs. He likes to his play style is very tease them, and then run off, and then get chased. Luffy doesn't really like that. However, on the other hand, because of maybe the Rottweiler in Luffy, he's very territorial, and these are one of, you can call them strengths and you can call them weaknesses on each side. However, I go to the beach, for example. Pachi does not really like the water, especially if he can't. Obviously, if it's very shallow, he doesn't mind it too much. But if he's in the beach somewhere, he gets too far out off of the shore, and he can't feel the floor under his legs, he doesn't really like it too much. As opposed to Luffy, because of the lab in him, loves the water. right? So these are things that I have to keep in mind. The, Keeping in mind the breed and how territorial they might get, um, how much of how possessive they can get over things, maybe how hesitant they are to accept another male or female dog, um, if they're a female dog themselves, into the space because it's kind of clashing with their possessiveness or their territorialism. These things are very important that we keep in mind. So we've talked about gender, we've talked about temperament, we've talked about breed. Overall, these are some of the biggest things you want to keep in mind if you're looking to bring in a new dog or when you have two dogs, right? In terms of what are the things that I want to work on. Now, in in all in all, we want to work on boundaries for sure. We want to make sure that we're setting very clear boundaries. And play is a big boundary, right? So I had to notice that the same way I had to step in for Luffy when Hachi was getting a little bit too over the top and bothering Luffy, I also have to step in when Luffy is maybe being too over the top and it's leading him to be a little bit too pushy with Hachi, right? Now these things are very, very important because I need to vouch for my dog. We've talked about these things before where when we're vouching for our dogs, what essentially happens is we're voicing to our dogs that we're going to be able to take care of this situation, this uncomfortable scenario that's going on. If we don't, this is going to jeopardize the relationship that we have with our dog. So you might see a lot of the times, and I'm sure a lot of you can vouch for this, where one dog might be doing something inside the house, and then the chances are if your dogs are playing inside the house, the dog that's feeling uncomfortable may look to the owner or may look to you if it's your dog. This could be a sign that the dog is uncomfortable and they're looking at you to step in for them. And if you don't, maybe the dog that is uncomfortable will kind of become more submissive and kind of, burrow themselves in, or they could just kind of get fed up and correct the other dog. Not unfairly, but go a bit too far with the correction. And this is kind of what we don't want. So we spoke a little bit about territory. Definitely want to make sure we're setting the boundaries within the territory, right? So one of the biggest mistakes that I made was, using the same crate, having them, feeding them around each other, feeding them in the same crate, leaving toys out for them to essentially share. These are all things that we don't want to. We don't want to risk these things. It's better not to risk these things. It's better to just have them have their own stuff. This is Pachi's bed. This is Luffy's bed. Or likewise with the crate. Or this is where Pachi eats. This is where Luffy eats. Or Luffy eats, Pachi watches, and then Pachi eats and Luffy watches. Right? And I can train, a bit of impulse control. At least in my situation, I trained impulse control. I had them put them down, or put them in the sit, or put them on place and watch the other one eat. But this is setting that territory, setting those boundaries for each of them. Another thing when we're talking about, territory and boundaries, I want to make sure that if I'm giving affection, I'm giving affection to one of them and watching out for what the body language of the other one is. What do I mean? If for some reason I see that I'm petting Luffy and Pachi comes in, oh hey, I want some too, well that might frustrate Luffy a little bit. Or if I don't give Pachi any attention, it might frustrate him because he's not getting attention, and then they might redirect on each other. Even more so, I can only speak to having two males. This is one of the biggest things that I've had to be very cautious of. And these things are very important. You don't want to have a lot of dog fights. I've had a few. And I can tell you from experience, guys, whatever you can do to avoid there being this clash between the two and avoid them, it's not jealousy, it's frustration, and it's a bit of foam. We want to do that. We want to make sure that we're kind of covering all bases to be as safe as possible. And I would suggest the same way how I said Hachi eats and then Luffy watches, I will do the same thing with affection. Until, of course, you can get to a point where both of them can be pet and not get over the top or anything like that. And you see that there's not the potential of them getting frustrated because one of them is getting more affection than the other. And now, on that note, guys, being fair with both of your dogs, right? I don't want to set any type of favoritism between the two, as well as I don't want to have any preference between one or the other. Hachi and Luffy are very different dogs, and I'm sure unless you guys get two breeds, two litter mates, two dogs are the same breed, I should say, or litter mates or whatever, you're probably going to have different breed of dogs in the household. And I remember somebody gave a great line where it's, somebody from Mexico might dance very differently than somebody from Greece. It's a different tango, there's different steps, it's a different rhythm. It's very similar when you're talking about breeds. You have to make sure that you understand what is the play style, what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses of each of them, what are the dislikes, likes, etc. And make sure that they're not clashing with each other. But I also need to make sure that I'm not spending more time with one of them because I can do more things with them rather than and kind of neglecting the other one. And I know neglect is a strong word, but we want to make sure that we're not doing this because I could have easily said, hey, Luffy's more active, so I'm just going to take Luffy out more often. Well, that's not the case, right? There are activities that I can enjoy with both. For example, long walks, hikes, if you want to call it that. Obviously, there's not many places to hike here in Florida, but for example, if I take a walk around the block, there's a lot of things that they're going to sniff. They both love that type of activity. Same thing. In the morning, let them out in the yard, they run around, they chase each other. Now I've gotten to the point where they both enjoy that activity. But for example, if I play fetch, Pachi's maybe going to chase the ball, but he's not going to bring it back. He's not even going to go for the ball. He just likes to chase. So I play keep away with him. Sometimes I'll throw a bone, go grab the bone, and I'll chase after him while he has the bone. He loves that game. He loves baiting somebody, right? Luffy will play fetch. And I will make the time, as the owner, as the leader in the household, I will make the effort to allocate time specifically for Pachi and specifically for Luffy. A lot of people make the mistake of, I don't know how to properly, my dog is under exercised, so I'm gonna go ahead and get a new dog so he can keep my first dog occupied. And that's the worst thing you can do, because there's no guarantee that your two dogs are gonna get along with each other. There's no guarantee that their play styles are gonna be the same. There's no guarantee of any of these things. And I hear a lot of people say things like, oh yeah, but I remember my German Shepherd back when I was a kid, and when we owned him, when I was younger, my parents had a German Shepherd, and he was so well trained. Why is my American Bulldog not able to be trained the same? Well, maybe gender, temperament, and breed, like we talked about, right? So keep in mind the dogs are very different. You do yourself no benefit by comparing your dogs. Understand that all dogs are different the same way all people are different. And keep all these things in mind while you are running your two dog household, or while you are looking for a new dog to bring in to your household. And again, guys, I hope this helps. Make sure to leave any suggestions, any comments, any questions in the comment section. I would love to oblige. If you guys have any ideas of any additional content that you'd like me to make, any concepts that you'd like me to delve deeper into, I'd be more than happy to oblige. But that being said, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, My Dog Carl. And I'll see you guys next time. Appreciate you guys for sticking around.